week we posted in the group for topic suggestions, and this one came through as one of the hot topics that people wanted us to talk about. Now the person who posted it is Sunny Boy the Omo. Also, Sunny Boy the Omo sent this in the official Friends of Faith on Trial WhatsApp group. So if you want to join the official Friends on Faith on Trial WhatsApp group, go on to the Facebook Live. We are currently live on Facebook as we speak. So you can go on to the Facebook Live, click the link, and be able to join, suggest, and all sorts, so that you can be able to also send your suggestions. So in the studio, we've got the First Lady of Sport, Yvonne Mangunda, who's in the studio as our guest. We also have Steve Vickers in the studio. If you are familiar with Star FM programming, then you've probably heard his voice before. Renowned sports journalist who has been around the block a few times and knows a lot about this. And we're also going to be hearing from an anonymous contributor who was in a relationship with a football player who used to use muti and was involved in all sorts of rituals, so we'll hear from them as well. But maybe let's start with just the basics. I'll start with you, Steve. Muti, Juju, Mushonga, is it a topical thing in sport? What's going on there?
Yeah, so there's a whole religious aspect to sport. There's a whole superstitious aspect as well, and it's not exclusively an African thing. You'll see a lot of superstition in sport in Europe among white people as well, like when a substitute comes on in football, you might see them hopping on one leg when they enter the pitch. We'd call those superstitions, and then there's so many stories I've heard. Remember, I've been covering Zimbabwean football for 30 years, and there's so many different stories that I've heard, and especially as the Star FM sports team, when we launched in 2012, it was we wanted to really get into what's happening at the heart of Zimbabwean sport, and this was a topic that came up so many times, and we saw so many things because we were at the stadium every Saturday, every Sunday, watching stuff. I'd heard many other stories as well, like and Memory Machera Hoa, the Dynamo's legend, in his book that came out a few years ago, had many stories there as well. And we're talking of stuff like the players being woken up and told to go and bath in a river at midnight, the night ahead of a game, because that would help them to get the victory. And it's not only way back in the past. I mean, that could have been a 80s kind of thing. But as recently as last month, Genesis Mangombe, the Triangle coach, got in trouble, got assaulted at Sakuva Stadium in Mutare when he entered the pitch for their game against Manica Diamonds. Entered, I think it was around midnight. On the eve of the game, he was caught by security, and he was caught with stones, yes, garments or cloths, I think, of various colours and so on, and he got a beating for that. So this is something that we've got so many stories on. We've seen stuff sprinkled on the goal post. There was a famous game, I think you were at it, Yvonne, where Dynamos couldn't score, and then I think a ball boy came on and some liquid was poured on the post and the ball sailed in just minutes later.
Yeah, I think if you've covered Zimbabwean football for a long time, you start to see the incidences, you question the incidences. And one of the things that Simba Chiminya, was my workmate then, taught me was, if you're going to go to a game, don't go to a game at past 2 or 3. Go to the game at like past 1 or 1:30, when the teams are coming in. This is where you see all the drama. Things like Wanashinesa Center, or this issue of when they when they finish the warm up and nobody wants to go to the changing room first because they believe the last team is the one that will win. The issues of, if you're warming up, you don't want the other team to run around you. There's so many incidents, and I think for me as a female in Zimbabwean football, the first thing I did was I recognized that people have their beliefs, and sometimes whether you believe it or not, you have to respect it. And one of the issues is, being a female, people have a belief that if they're doing their rituals, if a female comes around, if it's that time of the month, your menstrual time, you will affect whatever they would have done. So from early on, I started respecting that and ensured if we went to the matches, if there was need for me to go and get the lineup from the bench, where because usually the manager will have it on the bench and males can just go and collect. I wouldn't do that because I was always conscious of the fact that they believe that I don't believe it, but they do. So you don't want to mess up with their tradition. And I remember there was a discussion when I joined Dynamos and I was supposed to get into camp for the Independence Cup. And I heard there were discussions over should she join camp or not. Because there were some who were of the belief that why would a woman be in camp? Some were like, no, it doesn't matter. And when we won, it was it was amazing for me because at least I didn't get to be the scapegoat. And it was a good thing because there are people that still believe in that. And whether you believe in it or you don't, you have to respect that there are people that believe in that. And then sometimes you also question because there are incidences that will happen that will have you saying, does it work? Does it not? I remember the very, 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 very first time I went to Mbada Diamonds Cup match. It was in Kariba. I remember it was FC Platinum, must be FC Platinum in Chicken Inn, or it was FC Platinum. I remember FC Platinum. The other team I'm forgetting. And there were no goals. And then FC Platinum supporters took, the famous bottles that they give. Am I allowed to say what's in it? With urine. And they threw it into the net. I kid you not, immediately goals started raining and they won 3-0. The other incident was at Ruvara Stadium. Dynamos is not scoring. And then at one point, the corner flag dropped, right? And it's the corner flag on the corner of City and Vietnam.
Yeah.
But they waited for Richard Chihoro to walk from the bench to go and put it up. Immediately, there was a corner kick and he was scored. Then there's the incident of the famous cat, the black cat.
Oh, the black cat.
I was
Harare
there.
City.
It was Harare City. And where the cat ran, right, there was a free kick a couple of minutes later and the goal was scored. So you have incidents where you sit there and you think, okay, I don't believe it works, but what's happening? And then sometimes you have, I remember there was a whole scandal with South African Football Association when there was an audit and they figured, they realized they actually have a budget for a sangoma, right? And in African teams, most of these teams, they do have. It's a pity I can't get into some of the details because sometimes teams trust you to travel with them. So you can't expose, but there have been moments where you're traveling with the team and you can't figure out who that man is. Why is he here?
All right.
What is his role? I remember there's one team where we all congregated in one place going to the airport, but we had to pass through a certain hotel. And then the captain and a man that I didn't know got into the bus. I remember last seeing this man at the airport. And I'm thinking, everybody else, what was the captain doing? So you have these incidences where you sit there and you're like, I don't believe in this thing. But it is happening. And people do have, they understand and believe in these things. And then I always used to joke when I was, because obviously I knew him from when I was younger. The late Richard Chihoro, I knew him from Highfield. And I always used to laugh and say to him, why do people call you Nyoka? And all the stories that surrounded him. Is a very controversial character in terms of issues to do with Juju and stuff. So, like I said, there are times where I'm like, nah, Zishande. And there's times I sit there and I think, but Pepe is nigga Shanda, so it's a thing. The Christian in me says, nah, just play the game. You know what? It's a fair playing field. But then the experienced journalist in me, having been exposed to so much, I'll give you another incident. So Zimbabwe is playing Swaziland at Somhlolo Stadium, and Zimbabwe traveled the day before the game. So Zimbabwe got to the hotel at night. So there was no time to have training that day. And the game is the next day. You remember the famous Luminista trip. So in the morning, the team had to go and just do a feel of the stadium. So we get to Somhlolo Stadium. I kid you not, guys. I've never seen so many chicken wings, white chicken wings in my life. Like the whole turf was covered with chicken wings.
Feathers.
Feathers, like feathers. I'm saying wings. The feathers.
Oh, okay.
Feathers, not wings, the feathers. And I remember taking the picture.
White
I think I posted it. White. It was just white. Like the whole turf was just white. And then I remember behind one of the dugouts, there was like a little tiny snake. I don't know if you remember, because I actually posted it. And then this was like around 10, right? People have a feel of the stadium. We go back to the hotel. When we came back for the game at like past 1, it was squeaky clean. Like, you know, when you were like, did I see that? What happened to the feathers? Where did they go? So you then realize that people have their own different beliefs and things, but you've seen these things and you're thinking, does it work? Because that day Zimbabwe drew 1-0 with Swaziland, so I don't know if it worked. You know?
So talking about that, the famous or infamous interview that Bruce Grobbler did. We've got it here with us, and it's on the Final Whistle podcast. So he was on there, and he was talking about his testimonial back in 1992. A Sangoma was flown in from Zimbabwe by the sponsors. The Sangoma did what they did on the posts, and he wanted to pee on the posts so that he can break the curse, so that Liverpool can win the league title. So he did so on one post, and Liverpool came close, and he wanted to do so on the other post so that Liverpool can win. So I'm sure you've heard Bruce Grobbler taking some credit when it comes to Jurgen Klopp's title. So here's bits of it, and I'm sure you can relate with what Yvonne was saying just now.
In 1992, I had a testimonial for Liverpool. I was sponsored by our lager in Zimbabwe called the Zambezi Lager. So for the whole year, they gave me crate loads of beer that when I had dinners, I could put these on the table and everybody would drink up and be merry. And my testimonial was at Anfield, and they sent the witch doctor, because they've got a witch doctor with Zambezi Lager. And I didn't know if he was a real one or whatever, but before the game, he went and he got all his mushonga, his muti, and he went and splashed it on the posts, Cop end first, and then he went down the Anfield Road end, and then he got the mic, and he said to the fans, there were 33,000 people, if you don't have Bruce Grobbler, the jungle man, here at Anfield, you won't win the league again. And that was in 1992. Do you tell me if the thing doesn't work? Because when Stevie G slipped, remember when he slipped and we came second? Before that game, I had this inkling that, and this itchy feeling that, because I've been away in Canada and I've come back and I thought, what is it? What if this witch doctor is right and we haven't won this thing? And then I remembered, what do you do if your witch doctor actually does anything on the posts? You get your guys to go and pee on the posts. And because it was my testimonial, I knew that I had to go and pee on the post. So after one evening game, I stayed quite late in the corporate boxes, and I went down the stairs when the floodlights just, dimmed a bit, and I went out onto the pitch, and I went round to the side, and I started to pee on the posts in the Cop end. And the steward grabbed me and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Listen, I've just got to go down to the Anfield Road and, pee on those ones." He says, "No," and he chucked me out. Well, we came second then. Okay? Then I went back out to Canada. I went there and coached there for another year or another 2 years. I'm thinking about this all the time, and we still haven't won it. Then last season, we came second. I'm thinking, what is it? So I went into the toilet with a water bottle, poured the water out, peed in the bottle, put the top on, and when we went out onto the pitch, on the Cop end, I poured the water, the pee down the post, and then splashed it over the top on the crossbar, put the top on, put it in the middle of the goal. We played the first half. We switch over to the other side, and I did exactly the same. You tell me if it's not right or wrong.
This is Faith on Trial on Star FM, exploring matters of faith and issues within the church.
Indeed, we are exploring matters of faith and issues within the church here on Faith on Trial. I'll come to you, Steve. Bruce.
Liverpool legend Bruce Grobbelaar.
Yeah.
Warriors legend.
Liverpool
won the title after that.
After that, yes.
Ooh.
He said he had to finish the job. He had just peed on one post, so now they came second, so he had to go on to the other one.
And having it in the bottle was okay as long as he poured it on the post.
Yeah.
It worked. Yeah, I mean,
but I think if you've covered Zimbabwean football, you at some
But
point
he has played in it.
No, I'm saying at some point you've seen people use P. It could be a ball boy given. It could be like, I remember one time Caps United was playing with Shabani against Shabani Mine at Maglas, and some fans ran on the pitch to just pour, and kept scored after. So I don't know, but it's a belief that people have to say that if sometimes there's a statement on get when they feel like we're not scoring because somehow some person is interfering, they believe that P will undo all that. And what's funny is it's not only just people within the team, but even fans. And you see people cheer on if someone runs on the pitch and they spray their P, or if it's a ball boy. And one time I saw a ball boy being petted because he'd successfully gone and done the P ritual.
Yeah, there's lots of things because I usually go with Simba Chiminya from the sports team and get early at the ground, like Yvonne says, and he'll point out loads of things. Recently, he said we were walking on the pitch to check how it's looking at Rufaro Stadium. He says, "You see those chicken bones there?" I said, "Well, maybe someone was having their takeaway on the pitch and they left them." He said, "No, that's obviously Juju." And then on the bench there was stones there, small stones. And also there was some coarse salt that had been there from another game, as is all of these signs, because the salt is seen to be the thing that neutralizes the opponent's juju, isn't it?
Remember when Spencer Banda, when that player threw up at Rufaro Stadium, and Spencer was the only bold person to say, "I want to go and see what he threw up." And there was polony and something, and he was explaining how also polony can be part of the juju act to undo. So there are so many aspects, and I think you can't deny that there are people that believe in it. You can't deny that there are people that do it. And there are also incidences where on the other side, it's not only juju, right? There are other people that also believe in prayer, where they believe in holy water,
the anointing oil
of
Yada.
Conzera confusion Mukamp. You remember that opening
from
line
Yada?
We used to have on the Daily Sports Zone. So I feel like if you're a football player or you're a sports person in Zim, there is something you believe in spiritually. It might be God, it might be in your holy water, your anointing oil, it might be your muti, but there is something.
Okay, so now that you mentioned that, we know Pastor Kelvin Kaindu, who took over Dynamos. So there's an article that Thaddeus Manyepo wrote in the Herald. So let's just read a little bit on this. He credited the Dynamos revival to the prayers that Kelvin Kaindu was introducing. So Dynamos coach Kelvin Kaindu has revealed that he has added a religious aspect into the Glamour Boys menu to build a survival character, which is now overflowing in the Giants' camp. The former Highlanders mentor, who is a pastor, has set aside Wednesdays for devotion before conducting their training sessions, and on the eve of every match day, and the players are loving and committing to every bit of it. So that's Kelvin Kaindu. He's also quoted saying that yes, he acknowledged this, saying yes, we speak, we have, and we pray before the game. We have got devotion, I think, every Wednesday before we start training. We've got devotion on the day before the game, and also sometimes we come with the word of God that comes also as an inspiration. So that is just to guide the players in the way that we want them to conduct themselves. So that's an extract from the Herald. You can look that article up and you can read it through. And so Kelvin Kaindu, he says he's bringing the gospel.
Yeah. And Dynamo's vice chairman banned Juju, it was 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? Chawanza saying that it was too much and it was detrimental to the performance. But I doubt very much if that was the case. But you'll probably find some of the same players would also not have any problems with the juju as well as the prayers, of course. And then you know that in sport these days that psychological side is so important. So anything that gives you a psychological advantage, however small, is worth having in sport, because a lot of victories come in the mind. So that you might say that is motivating to the players. So irrespective of the religious beliefs as such, it could be something that just helps them to improve their self-belief. So there's a lot in it.
So
someone has taken aim at you, Mr. V. He says on WhatsApp, Vickers, you have always spoken about your lucky socks. Is that not Juju in a way? Is Steve Vickers with an open mic telling the world that he uses Juju?
My bright and lucky socks.
Yes.
That's amazing. That was 20...
They had a run,
2017.
I remember I was still here when you had your lucky socks.
You were still here.
Yes.
So it's 2017, and my sister's in-law had bought me lucky socks. They say Brighton lucky socks on them, and that was the time that Brighton escaped relegation from the Premier League and really established themselves. However, good results have been coming, whether or not I remember to wear my lucky socks. So that's harmless fun.
I actually wanted to add in on the spiritual aspect of from the article Kelvin Kaindu. Last week I was invited to the Caps United training, and they had Minister Mahendere. He's now part of the spiritual aspect. They're tapping onto his his gift. So he came, he prayed for the team, he had a conversation with the team, he was inserting belief in the team, and he said he'll be working with the team going forward. And in his speech, Farajere had said they had spoken earlier, the Cape United president saying they had spoken earlier before a game, and he'd said you pray about it, they'll pray together. But he also did add, Minister Mainde, to say it's not only prayer. It doesn't mean you guys don't have to work hard, don't have to do all these things. And he then said to them, like he was looking at the games that are remaining. I will not say it on air, but there is a game that he said, this is from a spiritual realm, this is the game that I'm seeing that will be very difficult. But for the rest of the other games, it will probably be smooth sailing, right? And one of the games, the past weekend, what did Caps United do? They won. So if you're a player and that has happened, you've had a conversation, and the prayer, the conversation and everything, I was there. I'm very spiritual as well. And it's something that really uplifted the players. So you would say, like Steve was saying, some of it does help psychologically, especially if you're going through. Imagine what Caps United have been going through because of the bad results. Imagine what Dynamo's players were going through because of the bad results. And sometimes you want that hope, you want that belief, you want something that tells you that you can do it. And when somebody tells you that this. And you ever had a prayer where you just finish and you feel like, I can just go out in the world and I can conquer, I can do everything. And I feel sometimes it works that way. And I feel even with the juju, sometimes it's just to intimidate. Because the moment you start feeling like maybe the opposition is going, their juju, because this is where the question is. If both of you are practicing juju, so obviously there's this tug of war, who has stronger juju. And sometimes we've even heard, I know of a place in Highfield where some of these big teams go to. So, how would I say it? You're going to the same source, right? So you're going to play against each other. So what's going to happen if you're going to the same source, the same spiritual source? So I think sometimes you can't judge spiritual things. Like, for example, you can't say to me, Minister Mahendere coming and talking to these Caps players, motivating them, praying for them, and saying, I'm even going to go home and I'll continue with this. You can't argue with the fact that they won. And you can't argue with spiritual issues and say, did it contribute, did it not? The same way that Kelvin Kayundu bringing the prayer and everything, you can't argue with that. At the same time, remember, in the same team where people are praying, is those that believe in Juju are not going to stop. simply because now we have prayer. So it doesn't mean every player at Dynamos is not practicing Juju simply because we're praying. The same thing at Caps United. So it's a very difficult terrain to navigate. But as a Christian, having witnessed what I witnessed last week, I will keep with my belief and say the prayer worked.
Yeah.
The talk worked.
So let's get
Caps
into
United won.
let's get into the life of a wife who was living with someone who was deep into Juju, a national team player playing abroad, doing very well, but still very much deep into Juju. Here's an anonymous contribution from a WAG, if you want, a football wife. WAG means wife and girlfriends. There you go.
Zvemaspiritual zviriko enda ndakatozviona zvichiitika nekuti inini ndakaroorwa nemunhu anga ari famous a football player wandakati tichidanana tichiona inini kwandiri ndaiona ari talented asi takazoti aroora tava kugara tese ndopandakazoona yese yanga yakuitika pamba ndakaona achiita marituals ese akatanga achitombowanda asi akanga akuzozviita pachena ndichitozviona.
So pamaidanana obviously as a girlfriend hapana masigns awaiona, nothing.
Kana neexcitement yekuti ndiri kudanana nefootball player hapana chandakatomboona, plus ndaiona ari talented zvekuti tozombofungira kuti anoita zvemarituals handina kana, plus ndandisingatombozvizive, plus mari tinokwezvwa nemari hauzomboone zvimwe zvese zvakawanda izvi, asi ndakazozviona ndava mumba ndatozoroorwa kuroorwa chaiko, kwete kuti ndiri kutaura zvekungoroorwa zvokuti takaenda unogara tese, ndakanobvisirwa mari pfuma yakatofananawo nevanhu vari famous vese vamunongonzwa nezvavo kuti vakaiwa vabvisirwa, ini ndakabvisirwa mari iyoyo. Saka zvese izvozvo enda hautombozvioni, especially pane mari hautombozvioni zvinhu zvakadaro, asi vazovamo unozozviona.
Unoti pane strange things aitika. What was his behavior like?
Behavior yachonaka handikwanisi zvangu unatsoitsanangura because marituals vaitoita vari team, as a team. Saka munhu aitambira national team, saka aingofungira even chero wese kumaplayers ikoko kuti ndaita bad game, saka ndofunga ndinhingi. Anga anitori necertain person waaitonatsonanga chaiye, anga ari shamwari yake wekuti waitowirirana uchiona uchifamba vese, but kana azouya aingoti zvinhu zvangu zvakangasika paipai ndinhingi andikanganisira. Saka zvese zvaanenge achitoita ari against munhu iyeye, asi ini zvaitondishamisa nokuti anga ari shamwari yake, ndiwe munhu wandaitoziva ari shamwari yake, asi zvaizoita zvacho zvakandivhundutsa ende zvinotyisa.
This is Faith on Trial on Star FM, exploring matters of faith and issues within the church.
So this is Faith on Trial. We are live on Facebook. You can go onto Facebook and you can share your thoughts there. We are taking WhatsApps, we're taking phone calls, and we are also taking your Facebook comments as well. We're talking sport, spirituality, and faith. So many things and so many dynamics to it. And we've just heard from someone in the inside, someone who stayed and lived with a player who was involved in Juju, the anonymous contribution. And we've got a part 2 to this contribution because the marriage unfortunately collapsed because of, not just because of the Juju, but the Juju and the addiction to Muti and Mshonga was definitely part of it.
Kubva pandakatanga kuzvinetsa kuti munhu ndozvaanoita, pfungwa yekutiza yakanga itoripo pandiri. Ndakanga ndichingofunga kuti ndakuda kubva pane munhu uyu one day ndakamuwana akachekwa muviri wese akagara mutabhu musina mvura akazora zvimafuta kana tingati mafuta kana tingati chii achiwaima paakachekwa muviri wese achingodetemba achitaura nezveshamwari yake iya kuti ndiyo iri kundikanganisira zvinhu zvangu nekuti ike zvinezvi contract haisisina kumira zvakanaka, zvinhu zvese gemu raakuita kunge zvinhu zvaakumira hazvichaenderere mberi. Saka ipapo ndakanzwa hana yangu kurova ndikati this time inini regai ndichingoenda. Ndakazvipira kusimuka ndichitakura mwana wangu ndichibva, asi pese apa ndaizvifunga asi ndaitya, ndaifunga zvakawanda ndichitya because ndaiti ndikangotarisa ndichiona zvaanomboita ndotya ndoti pamwe zvichazoitirwawo nekwandiri, pamwe zvichazoitirwa kumwana wangu, pamwe zvinogona kuzonoitirwa kuvabereki wangu. Saka ndaitya, asi ipapo ndakazongozvipira nekuti zvandakaona ipapo ndakavhunduka nazvo. Saka ndakazongozvipira kuti regai ndichingoenda, chauya chinozongondionawo asi ndabva pano.
Chii chanyanya yekutyisa? Waona waigara nemunhu uyu, waona achipenya ari mutabhu, apa chii chawanga wakutya manje pazvo zvakazoita kuti uuye?
Chandaa kutya ndechekutya kuti inini pamwe ndichazoitiswa zvinhu izvi, mwana wangu pamwe achatozoitiswa zvinhu izvi. Ndandaa kutotya izvozvo kuti zvinhu izvi zvichazosvika nekwatiri, nekuti maitiro aizviita nekuvenga. Munhu anovenga shamwari yake ndakaona achiwirana naye before tatomboroorana, ko what more ininiwo zvangu ndazongouyawo. Saka ndo zvakanyatsondityisa izvozvo, ndikati inini panapa regai ndichimbotisa. Ende ndakatoti ndikabva ndinonokasika kunotsvagawo yewopo kumberi, ndinowanawo ndinonoudza, ndoita kuti zvikasike kubatsirwa kuti kana akazoitawo ndazombobva panapa ndinenge ndawanawo rubatsiro, ndinoendawo kune vanogona kubatsira, vanonamata.
Ko munhu aitambira national team uyu, aigona bhora remukurumbira munyika, kwanguri tingati marituals iwayo here kana tingati munhu angangoriwo talented pawaimuona wachitraina achita sei?
Asi kana anga achitotamba zveshe anga ari talented. Izvi zvokuti marituals izvi kana ndiziva kuti akazvitanga rini, kana kuti titoti ameno pamwe talent racho rakatobuda nemarituals ayayo handichatozivi, asi inini mumaziso mangu ndichiona semunhu ari talented.
This is Faith on Trial on Star FM, exploring matters of faith and issues within the church.
0772162651, 0714414413. You can phone in. Let's hear your contributions. Have you ever had a personal experience with Juju? Maybe you're a former player, former coach, or you've been involved in a sport that has seen these spiritual things happen, the religious beliefs happen, and things of that nature. You can phone us now.
Faith on Trial on Star FM. WhatsApp us on 0772162651. Call in on 0772162651 or 0714414413.
Good evening. You're through to Star FM.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very fine.
I think we've lost. I think we've lost that one. Let me see if I can get another caller in here. 0772162651, 0714414413. You can come through and contribute. Good evening. You're through to Star FM. Good evening. You're through to Star FM. Oh well. Juju, my phone lines. What's going on here? Yeah, let me see if I've got someone on the line. Good evening, you're through to Star FM. Taswera maswera. Muri mtambo wenavwe.
Takatombori tambo bora iwari. Takaipa.
Magasiswa ne Juju.
Anzi bora ndokazura nivi yaziti.
Azviti.
Panozoda something.
Something kakari wiki waishandise.
Takatozorealize tatokura paita tefana takazura ka something.
Hey, pakaoma.
You know what, Ngomaiti?
Eh.
I think I think now Yvonne, do you phone him to Jan?
And
I think in a pity. It's what you believe in. Juju iriko, and it's not only in Africa, but in Africa is not near public as well. It's something Jakarta, Mawana. And also, Monona, my lucky charms, Georgia, Tungo Masters, Georgia. Iriko, I'm gonna go study the story. My players, they do rituals. What I do score and my teams are over you, but now, go to the rituals or other shika. But I feel in a world that we live in, there's good and bad. Like I'm watching my players who can do pet jelly jega. It's not gonna wouldn't mirror. You might be overshadowed the moon away. Agazoraji, Agazorang Uti Mamone Wemes. Doing my players, no Russian, but we are not going to Quantum things, but the Boraga did it. I just don't have to learn about prayer. And then there's someone who is so talented or maybe to an Garaba bench. And did sometimes as a player, no one doesn't go in the own would you know one of the go my profit and go my apostolic faith. With that, you can just get a spiritual help. You do one of those who can all good train or as a coach and one
Nana.
I noticed.
Thanks, Norest. Yeah, let me bring it back into the studio. Anza, you just can't go.
I think what he's saying is it's correct. But I also believe kuti kana watu omunhu wokuti uri mkristu aubate juju uri kubhora wakufana kumira iti wakasimba, you then can't. I think like what he's saying, like kana uri munhu wokuti you're a Christian, now you have unofana kutomira uri very strong, haukwanise manje kuita 50-50 iti yokuti neither cold, you're neither hot, you're lukewarm. Apachada lukewarm, like he's saying. Because if somebody is coming in, and sometimes maybe it's a person you're competing for the same position with. We remember the whole story about a player coming to training, Oshika Gumboro Jimba. They leave training and everything is okay. So I think at the end of the day, it's what you believe in. You have to be strong in it, because munacha are very strong and powerful muma juju beliefs ake. Iwewe kana ukuthi nini ndidi clean, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, I believe God will help me. It means you then also have to be strong. You have to be a prayer warrior. You have to be very solid. Hauchaita dilly-dally, and you stand your ground because he's talking about things that people do at an individual level. I was watching a documentary about times when a team will actually force players to do it. So if you're now not spiritually strong, when those times come, you will indulge. But there are people that are so spiritually strong that no matter what circumstance, for example, Hashim Amla, because of his beliefs, even when South Africa cricket had a sponsor that went against his religious beliefs, they had to make leeway for him and his religion. I don't know if people have also noticed that with Sikandar Raza as well, where there are certain sponsors that will come in and you will see that his jerseys, his playing top won't be the same as the others.
But they're big, yeah.
Yes, because of religious beliefs. So I'm saying now, if you're a football player and you are not firm in your beliefs, that's when those people that are coming and they're practicing all these things, they can overpower you. Because my belief is, if you are true and if you're, nothing supersedes God, no matter how powerful we might say it is. So if you really are true and you are appealing to God, hakuna anzi chironda chinaita say like kana iwe usina mvura bata mshonga. Mdara uri covered.
Good evening, you're through to Star FM.
Good evening, Ilchi, and the first lady of sport. I'm not the first lady of sport.
Actually, first lady.
Yeah, the first lady of sport. I always following her channel. She's doing so well. I hope she will come back to Star FM one day. And Mr. V, we need Yvonne to go on Star FM. And Mr. V there, how are you, Mr. V?
I'm great, thanks. The door is always open. You're talking to the right person. person.
Yeah, the door is always open. We need a lady in the sports department. It's been empty for 5 years without any woman journalist there. Do something, Mr. V. So
Yeah.
my story is on fasting and Islamic fasting and sports. Did you notice that in 2018, during the 2018 World Cup, there's no African country that progressed past the group stages of the FIFA World Cup? And I know that you know it, Mr. V. You are an expert in sports statistics. And
they were practicing Ramadan.
Football. Yeah. Do you know that in 2018, the FIFA World Cup coincided with Ramadan in the month of June, and that affected most Muslim players. And the 5 African countries who had the World Cup had Muslim majority players. There was Egypt, where all players were Muslim in 2018. There was Morocco, all players were Muslim. Senegal, all players were Muslim, although Senegal were knocked out on yellow cards, on disciplinary issues that year. And then there were other 2 African countries that were there in 2018. I think there was Nigeria, where Muslim Muslim players knocked out in the group stages. There was which was the other 5th country, but it had Muslim also players. So I don't understand why FIFA doesn't have their calendar to accommodate Muslim fasting players. Well, the more Salahs, when they're playing in the league around the Ramadan time, they underperform, and FIFA doesn't seem to care about their faith. I don't know if Islam is not considered as important as Christianity when it comes to sports. May you please help us, the experts. And also, there's a Newcastle fan there in Yvonne Mangunda, just in case you didn't know, supports Newcastle. There's Papi Demba Cisse. Do you still remember Papi Demba Cisse from Senegal, Yvonne? Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember he refused to wear a branded Newcastle jersey that had betting advertising on it because Islamic faith doesn't allow betting. Then the club punished him for that, if you still remember, when he was still playing for Newcastle.
But I think
I don't know if it's justified that sports can actually punish players on their religiosity or religious grounds. That they refuse to wear, let's say, alcohol, like Hashim Amla refused to wear like an alcohol brand on the Proteas jersey when he was still playing for South Africa cricket. So what happens then in those matters?
Deep. I think sport has progressed in terms of, like I was giving the example, even without even us going far, we've got an example in Sikandar Raza, right? And when you talk about even Nyaye, prayers, cricket, sometimes you might play a 4-day game or you might play a 50-over game and it's throughout the course of the day. And I've seen him take out his mat and do his prayers when it's time for him to do his prayers. Obviously, there'll come times when it's Ramadan. I'm of the view that it's not to say the religion is not important, but at the same time, it is a sport in which it encompasses people with different religious and all these other beliefs, right? And it will be difficult for them to cater for each and every aspect. It's important, yes, for them to consider these issues. And I think it's a case by case where does your association understand? Can you be able to say, my religion says I can't wear a branded alcohol brand or a betting brand, and they can understand? And also the value in the team.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening. You're through to Star FM.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. You can go ahead. Who am I talking to?
Okay, you're talking to Amnesty King D. Let's say for the sake of people's privacy,
I think King, your line is bad. Let me see if I can get someone in. Yeah, you can continue to phone in and have your say. This is the roundtable discussion.
Faith on Trial on Star FM. WhatsApp us on 0772162651. Call in on 0772162651 or 0714414413.
Good evening. You're through to Star FM. Who am I talking to? Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. You can go ahead.
Okay. Yes, we can talk more about superstition, but it's just like about superstition of faith. Some things it doesn't work, but it's all about belief. If it was working, why don't even one African country used to get World Cup? Just believe on it.
Yeah, so that's a nice question there. Does it work, guys? I think that's the crux of the matter, Mr.
I think it's subjective. I think it's subjective because at the end of the day, like we said, I'm also of the sentiment of what the caller said, to say we talk about African players and African sport because we're exposed to it. I don't believe South Americans and Europeans don't have their own rituals. They do have their own rituals. We've even heard cases of even people connecting popular people to even, the famous Illuminati and all these things. So there will always be beliefs that somebody looks to a higher power in some instance. The only difference is our examples are very concrete when it comes to African players because we're exposed to them. So the issue of saying if it really worked, we would have won the World Cup. We don't know what they're also doing on the other continents. So we don't know. Maybe they have stronger than us. But as a Christian, obviously, I don't believe in all that. I believe hard work will do the talking. But at the same time, we live in an evil world. So good sometimes, no matter how good and clean you are, sometimes you will face evil. And sometimes...
winning the World Cup. I mean, that's it's a big argument. It's a good point. And also the opposite of religion, superstition, juju is science. So going back to that previous caller, the World Cup can't be moved. It's a business. There's only certain windows where the World Cup can be held. There's weather conditions as well. And some Muslims during Ramadan do play incredibly well, even though they haven't even taken water and the game is on in very hot conditions. But science now, we've got sports nutritionists. There's even sleep scientists in football who will consult to clubs and tell them how to make sure that their players sleep as well as possible, that their beds are firm enough and that there's no light coming in, so that they have sleep hygiene, it's called, isn't it? So that's the science that's now in sport as well, and that's producing results as well. Erling Haaland is very careful about his body, the Man City striker, and his diet as well. He eats hearts, doesn't he?
And LeBron James is said to spend $1 million on his body every year.
Right. So
Cristiano Ronaldo is the biggest example of how you can take care of your body and how there's so much more than just talent that gets into it. So I think I agree with what Steve is saying, because at the end of the day, we have to realize that sport is a business. So we all have preferences, we all have issues that affect us. But if you then factor that on, whatever month you put it on, somebody probably has an issue as to why it's within that month. Because imagine, we could also be complaining, why is the Africa Cup of Nations coming in when it's Christmas? We want to celebrate Christmas, and now we have to be in Morocco.
The Muslims are saying, hey, we're not being considered.
Yeah, because
our players are all hungry, and then you put a very important tournament.
All I'm saying is at the end of the day, it is business. It's just like at work. Work doesn't stop because there's Ramadan. It's unfortunate if you're inconvenienced, but that's the reality of the situation. You will find cases where it might be easy to work on it if it's maybe at a club level or at a local league level, but when it's at World Cup level, it's then very difficult to then try and take into consideration everybody's issues. Because you remember there was even an issue on even having the World Cup in a desert.
Good evening, you're through to Star FM.
Hello, Maswere.
Maswere.
Taswera bu.
Mukupona segwa.
No, I'm showing in the
ndoiriko
inini kumusha kwedu ndokwaitoinenga yacho yai muka anjikura vanhu vakatamba bhora kuma 98 99 2000 papa
vaiuya kumusha kwenyu
vanhu vese vavo ndakavazivira kumusha vane bhora ivo vaiuya Thursday Friday kusanganisira nemakocha acho ende matimu akasiyana vaiva munhu 1
matimu akasiyana aenda pamunhu 1 kumusha ukoko
taitodzidza nemwana wacho yomudhara aiita izvo ndiaizototiudza toedza kuti ndinhingi uyu ndianzi ningi ozi vanhu vati aingoona wanyizepa kuti ningi anoti mabhora kakati yatawa kakati iye mwana watadzidzisa naye ndiaizotoedza kuti imoti ainingi yadarika achienda kumbako imoti vasadakati pachikoro idzidzi vachienda kumba kwemudhara iyi
nekupwa kumusha uko
kuwedza
vakutaura zvinomeka sense ndambokuudzai kuti kuhighfield andikwanisa kutaura zvakawanda but pane pamwe panhu patotoziva kuti vanhu vanouya vemaclubs akasiyana siyana tikazonyanyotaura deep into the details vanhu vanozopa but vanoziva vanotoziva kunoenda vanhu vebhora kwana achiti sometimes unozozvibvunza kuti saka this week kana team iyi neteam iyi zviri kutamba zvese zvichienda pasame place zvichafamba sei?
Good evening, you're through to Star FM.
Hello, iti.
Muri kuiona seko hanzi kuwedza uku vanhu vese vaenda kuwedza uku.
Zvinogona kunge zvichidaro asi zvakutoendera nekuti unozvitendawo kusvika pato. Nekuti paunozvitendawo ukaona zvichikufambirawo unotongofunga kuti ndizvozvo zviri kutofambawo zvakadaro. Saka mabhilifi chete kuti watenda zvipi zvacho. Zvinoitika zvinhu zvazvo unogona kutosangana nazvo zvichitoitika iyo yekutoti iwewo pamwe uri kunamata zvako haunya kunyatsowana zvekutotenda mazviri chaizvo chaizvo unogona kutozo-overcamiwa nevaya vanenge vakatoita zvejuju wotoona kunge hazvisi kumbonyatsofamba zvakanaka wani kuti iwe hauna simba pachinhu zvauri kutenda. Ukangova nesimba pachinhu zvauri kutenda zvaunotenda zvinotobudawo saizvozvo zvinotoraramika izvozvo.
No, thank you for that contribution.
Aiwa iwo kumatimu kwacho kumaclubs kwacho ezvo zvanga vachitaunzi ana Michael Maendere vanenge vachinamatirawo izvozvo zvanacaps vachitotenderana vachiwirirana kana mukangotendawo mazviri zvinotobuda sezvo izvo zvitiri kutarisa kuti pakatamba Cape Cup ndo first timu yakarova Simba bhora kushamba pamwe kana wazviri izvo zvanga zvatoitika vakazvitenda kuti zvinoitika zvakabuda saizvozvo izvozvo izvi yakarova Manika Diamond yatone 6 points mu 2 games asi kumashure kwesoko zvazvichiramba saka pamwe zvinogona kuti zviite saizvozvo.
So I've had a back and forth with soccer moms before. And they were saying that they pray for their children and so on and so on. So if my Ethan is praying for Ethan, and my Donald is praying for Donald, what happens there? Who's God hearing?
I think this is where I said, like, you remember I said earlier on that spiritual matters are very difficult to understand.
But
because what you then it's just like faith. Faith is you believe in things that if you really want to sit down and think about it, if you really want to start analyzing some aspects in the Bible, you end up losing things because you're being too. I think that's why some people are even becoming atheists, because you start really getting deep into, does it make sense? What was happening here? Did it really happen this way? So faith is a belief to say, if I look at a superpower, that superpower will help me. So it doesn't matter if the next person, your question is the same thing as somebody saying, if I'm practicing Juju, the next person is doing Juju, who's going to be helped? You as an individual are believing that right now I am praying to God and I'm hoping God helps Ethan. And that's your prayer, and that's the only thing you can do. You then can't really think too much about things that you don't control, you don't know. It's faith.
So let me give you, let me take one more and I'll come to you, Steve. Good evening, you're through to Star FM.
Hello.
Hello, you're through to Star FM. Mugi wanna say? Primary kwangu ne Juju leo.
kuprimary kwetaidzidza
Primary school.
Yes.
Juju.
Yes. It's just not about my sports.
No. I was in the Colts team. I didn't use no Juju. Maybe explains why I was on the bench.
Hello.
Primary.
Hello.
Muripo.
Kwamutare kainenga. Munazobvunza vanhu vakadzidza kwamutare kuprimary kuma 80s 90s. Vaiti pachikoro pedu pane makuwa nditi. Papa pane makuwa. Saka chikoro chedu chandisikadyiwi papa home. Hatisikadyiwi. Saka vanhu vaitoti hanzi mabhora enyaya anorara kumakuwa ndosamusikatichi.
Mabhora enyaya arara kumakuva here.
Ndozbilishi yaitotaura ndozvaingotaura.
But mamuri kuchikoro kam ndopamai mararise. Hamuzozivi kuti makocha aita nezvei.
But vanhu vazhinji ndozvaitotaura izvi. Chikoro chedu chatora time chisingarohwi pahome pacho.
But iti masports sometimes piwa kana consult usingazivi kuti ndei.
Primary school.
Yeah.
Aiwa.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on.
Pane nyaya yataurwa kunzi vanhu vanoenda pasem test nekuvachinomatirwa. Pane magoalkeepers eDerry aenda kundobatsirwa pamunhu wani kuchitungwiso. Pakazozviziva kocha wacho eDerry wacho anga kungoisa chero kipa aisa kuti vanongobatsirwa nemunhu waniwo saka vanongobata zvakafanana. Handisati ari mazita emagoalkeepers acho but kudhara magoalkeepers are very, very famous.
Wow. No, thank you. Thank you for that contribution. Yeah, the phone lines continue to blaze. A lot of people want to join this conversation. Steve, overly, with your multiple years of experience.
And these lucky socks.
Yes.
Yep. Juju's there, no doubt. We've seen it. Like Yvonne says, we've even seen it working sometimes. I think the bigger question is this power coming from the kingdom of light or the kingdom of darkness? Does it fit in with your own religious beliefs? If you're a Christian, is it coming from the kingdom of light or the kingdom of darkness? And bear in mind, sport, it reflects life as a whole in so many other ways, because it's not only a sport where this is happening. Are you using something to help you to get ahead in business maybe, or to find a life partner? No, sport is reflecting what happens in life as a whole. So yeah, that'd be my final thought on this one. We've seen so much a Juju in sport over the years, but the big question is that power, is it right? The psychological side of it is very important. If praying helps you to perform better, then of course that's going to be a good thing. But if you're getting into Juju, is it in line with my religious beliefs? And that power, is it coming from the kingdom of light or is it coming from the kingdom of darkness?
And Yvonne, I'll come to you for your final remarks.
I feel, like Steve said, it's up to you what you believe in. It's up to you, whatever side you pick, make sure you're strong on that side. If you're to indulge in sport, especially Zimbabwean sport, if you are on the I will pray, I will get what I want, you make sure you're 100% in that path. Don't be flip-flopping, because the flip-floppers, they're the ones that will be then caught in the crossfire, because some people are very strong on one side and some people are strong on the other side. But I believe what the caller said, you can't just wake up in the morning and say down tamba bora usnapa umire, like ungori zvataurwa statement rekunzi wangozora Nivea. Basically what he's saying is, if you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to pray hard. If you're going to wake up in the morning and, spread all your muti and everything, you are doing it that way. You can't just wake up and just think my talent will take me anywhere, no matter how clean you are, because it's an evil world. It's just like us as Christians. We might pray and do whatever, but we know that we're going into a very evil world where people are doing different things. So this is my parting words I'm taking from what that person said, Tuti. Just like our everyday life, you are neither cold or hot in whatever religious side or whatever side you pick. If you're if you're indulging in the dark, you're going full throttle. If you're indulging in the light, you're going full throttle. There is no in between if you want to succeed in this sport. But for me as a Christian, I believe in God. I believe in prayer. I believe in you equipping yourself by doing and training so hard. Even in my career, there are certain things I have to do to ensure that I succeed. But at the same time, I'm not going to succeed if I don't then put all those plans to God. If I don't believe that God, I'm going into this evil world, there are going to be people that will fight me. There are going to be people that will say so much stuff. But at the end of the day, my faith and my belief is, my journey. So it's the same thing with sport. You have to get there. Aungomuka. Ungozora nivia ungoti ndakunotamba bhora akuna chinobuda.
So that's Yvonne Mangunda's final remarks there. We were talking faith, spirituality and sport. And earlier on, we asked about the quiz question and where do you find these ideas about Muti, Mushonga and things of that nature. So Baba TJ came through with an answer. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 and Acts 8:9-24. So you can go and you can be able to read that and get to find out more about what the Bible says when it comes to these things. So that's Faith on Trial for tonight. Many thanks to Steve Vickers and the First Lady of Sport, Yvonne Mangunda, and all of you watching us on Facebook, also coming through on the phone lines and on WhatsApp as well. And we sign out with who else but Minister Michael Mayendere.
Yes!
Who
got caps their first win against Zimbabwe.
He received the
the first team to beat Zimbabwe in Chamba this season.
Minister Michael Mayendere called it, played at the training ground, and what do you know? 3 points, and they moved into safer ground.
It's 6 now, because it's Simba, and then it's the Zimbabwe game. He did that before the Zimbabwe game, and then he did it in the past weekend, so it's 6 points for Caps United.
I can see Minister Michael Mayendere's phone vibrating. Watch out. Greenfield, Triangle, and all of those teams will be phoning him. They're desperate for 3 points. Here's a salt of the earth.